that on this
Buenas, dude.
first off, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an interview with our special guest, Dan Winkler, a relief pitcher for many years with the Atlanta Braves, also with the Chicago Cubs. We appreciate you for taking the time, especially during a holiday on New Year's Day, for taking the time to do this interview with us.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you all for having me. I try to do as many of these as I can. So, we were just kind of catching up. So, anyway, I can help a little bit and just talk baseball. I'm all in for.
Hey, we appreciate you, and that's what we do on this podcast. We just talk baseball like crazy, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, just like nowadays, I mean, baseball's just kind of taken a shift, especially from where we've seen it. In the last few years, we've seen just different rules being applied, different strategies and on how players take on the game. So I feel like my first question to you is, what do you think has been the biggest shift from when you played the game to where the game's being played now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently, I work for Driveline Baseball. Driveline's kind of I guess, premier training baseball training facility. And I get to talk this all day long. One of the talk tracks that I take is that exact one. When I was first coming up, I was a four seam ride guy, and I was drafted by the Rockies, and they wanted everybody to be a sinker slider, and that's just not who I was. And that the game had nothing they couldn't quantify what I was doing. They saw that I would miss bats, those kind of things. But as I got into the game a little bit farther, I think my fourth year when we brought Anthopoulos in, that they really started to put the analytics back in, and you started to see like it was very numbers based, not just numbers on like what they say the baseball card, but all the underlying metrics and things like that. So the game's changed a ton in that. And then, just being out of the game with the pitch clock and I think, that's a good thing for baseball to always be evolving. How do you reach the younger audience? Baseball is a great sport. It's a very popular sport. And some people will lead you to believe that it's not. But like I said, I talk to kids all day long who love baseball, dads who love baseball. So I think it's good to see the MLB like, hey, let's grow the game. Let's see how we can continue to reach different audiences, different markets. How do we get to different countries as well? You see Australia, you see Japanese, and all these other players coming into MLB, and it's really cool to see it. It's just kind of growing it to a global game. So, I mean, you look like Acuna is on my wall right now. Like that guy is one of the best in the game,
Oh yeah.
and so you gotta love seeing like it going to all these different countries and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, and I for one, and I know that when it comes to the pitch clock, especially, there's a lot of mixed emotions to it because, and I understand it has its flaws. Like, you had several fans attending the baseball games who didn't like the factor of every time they get up and use the bathroom or go to the concession line, they'd come back and it feel like they'd miss an inning and a half because the game is sped up, and I understand it. But I, for one, have always been a supporter of the pitch clock. I think it has influence the game in a positive way in terms of keeping the momentum and the energy kind of going at a consistent level. But I'm glad to hear it from a former player's perspective and kind of give insight because it is reaching the younger
right.
audience, I believe, through the way that it's doing, and making it a quicker game. Not too quick, but it is quicker. And I think, it is important that baseball tries to continue to attract the younger audience and keep the game growing.
For sure. Yeah, I do like the pitch clock. It was something that players had to get used to, definitely. And the great thing about baseball is it's a social sport. So you go to the game and you can sit and talk to your friends and
Yep.
watch the game and be involved. Like we were just talking hockey a little bit earlier. Like you can talk, but it's more engaging. Football games as well. Like you're engaged in the game the whole time. Baseball's a little different, and that's the great thing about it. I think you can go with your friends, you can have a drink or two, and sit and talk about business. You can talk about baseball, you can talk about Acuna, we can talk about hockey. Like you can go
Right.
there and you can talk about different things. So that's a great thing about baseball. You don't want to take a lot of that away. But I think it was getting to a point where it's like, all right, this is making me fall asleep. So I think it's a good balance for.
I agree, and I think as like the years go on, I don't know, they might make some minor adjustments to the pitch clock here and there, but I know for the most part it's going to stick around. But I think as the seasons go on, I think the fans that like are seeing this as an issue just because of how much quicker pace the games are, I think they'll eventually learn to be adapt to it, and I think it'll grow on the baseball community. And overall, people see this as a good thing for baseball in general as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But I guess I'll go ahead and dive into my question. I actually kind of want to tackle one of the earlier decisions that you made in your career before you even got to the majors and kind of hear your perspective on it. So after you were drafted by the Chicago Cubs back in 2010, you actually chose to transfer to the University of Central Florida instead of
Mhm.
signing. So what influenced that decision and how do you think it shaped your development as a pitcher?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm from a small town in Illinois,
Mm,
10,000 people. I went to a really small high school. We had 60 kids in my graduating class. So for me, I had some D1 offers out of high school, some smaller D1s. And, college was totally different then. You go to a D1, you try to transfer to another one, you have to sit out a year.
right.
So I wasn't ready to go to Division One. I had big dreams. I wanted to go play at a big university, and I had a lot of junior college offers. I felt like junior college was a good route for me. So I went to Parkland College in Champaign, same town as University of Illinois. We actually
Mhm.
had four big leaguers on that team, so we won the national
Nice.
championship that year. My sophomore year, we went to the World Series again. And then, I was in the Northwoods League and I got drafted by the Cubs. I'd been talking to some scouts, and I just, I committed to UCF, and I was really excited about it, but I just didn't feel like I was ready to make the leap from junior college to professional ball, and I felt like I needed something else. And like if the money would have been there, to be completely honest, I probably would have signed, but it
Right.
wasn't, and and I thank the good Lord for that, honestly, because going to UCF was the best thing for me. I pitched against Florida, Miami, Rice, like all these really. Anthony Rendon was at Rice when I was there.
Oh
I faced
wow.
all these like
That's crazy.
really high end guys. Like, I mean, the Florida team we played, they had like I think 12 first rounders from that year. And so I played this competition, and it was an up and down year for me. I had some really bad games, probably some of the worst in my career. And I learned, how to bounce back from that. And so I learned a ton from UCF. And then, when I got drafted again, I just felt ready. And when I went into pro ball, I already felt like I had a leg up on a lot of the younger kids, just from my experience. So, yeah, it would have been great to go get drafted after my sophomore year, but and sign, but it just wasn't good timing for me. And I tell that story a lot. I think baseball, what got me to the big leagues was like I never felt like I always felt like there was another level to get to. Like how do I keep going? I was never satisfied. It's kind of like that stepping ladder. For me, it was junior college, D1, pro ball, and then every year, single A, double A, triple A, and then the big league. So I'm very thankful for my journey, and I think that played a big role into it.
Right. And I think it comes down to, like there's a phrase, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Cause,
Mm,
yeah, I guess as a sophomore, majors does sound very attractive that early in your career, but you understood that, there was a different initiative that you needed to take in order to take that next big step in your career. And it ended up getting you to bigger places than maybe if you would have taken that cut route, went straight to the majors when Chicago drafted you, maybe you would have missed out on some of those
Right.
opportunities. So yeah, it's good to hear that you understood what you wanted for yourself and you understood what would have given you the best opportunity. And as a result, you got your great solid MLB career out of it. So yeah, that was really interesting to hear.
yeah, for sure. I always had a vision of the long term goal. I didn't want to just make it to the big leagues. I wanted to play and stick for
Right.
a long time. And I think that was always the goal. Making a lot of money in the draft wasn't the goal. The goal was to be a big league baseball player and to do it for a while. So yeah, I had that vision from real young for sure.
Absolutely. And for the next question, I kind of want to transition to this topic a little bit. So it was 2014 when you underwent Tommy John
Tommy
surgery. Is
John,
that
yeah.
correct?
Yes, it was. Yep.
2014. So I just want to kind of talk. I know that was a significant event in your career. So I kind of want to ask if you can share some insights into your rehab process and the mental challenges that you had to face during that tough period.
Yeah, for sure. So the story is 2014. Like I said, I was a 20th rounder. I signed for 20 grand. I was broke minor leaguer, and I was pitching well. I was California Pitcher of the Year in 2013,
Nice.
and then I was like having honestly the best year of my life in
Right.
2014. And the story is it was between me and another guy to get called up. Colorado wasn't very good that year. This kid was a first rounder, and he honestly probably deserved it. Throwing 99 like sink balls, and they called him up instead of me. And I was fine with it. But my very next start, I actually took a no hitter into the fourth inning, and my elbow had been bugging me a little bit. And I remember I threw a slider in the dirt, and it just felt like a twinge. And then I was like, "That's kind of odd." A couple of pitches later, I just felt like it snapped. Like I knew exactly what it was. It honestly felt like a rubber band just broke. And walked off, had the surgery, whatever. And it was I was in a good place because I felt like I had done enough for people to see that I belonged and that I was meant to be in the big leagues. And then I wasn't put on the roster. Actually, got picked up by the Braves because of that. And like it all works out. I think the Chinese parable of the kid that broke his leg, and you're like, that's horrible for him. And his dad is like, oh well, we'll see. And then they're coming back, and they're like, well, we're taking people for the army, but he can't take his son because he can't go to the army. Like you never know what's going to be the best thing for you. And in my
Right.
case, like
Mhm.
it seemed like devastating, but it led to the Braves for me, and going to Atlanta and giving me a shot. Like the Braves weren't very good in 2015, 2016. It gave me an
No, they
opportunity
wouldn't.
No, they
to
weren't.
to to prove that I belong. And
Right.
Colorado, I got out of Colorado. Like being honest, Colorado is a tough place to play.
The
So
Oh,
ball
that
it's
flies.
rehab
elevation.
process,
For a
yeah,
for a
exactly.
pitcher,
And it's
yeah.
not just that. It's like sinkers don't sink, cutters don't cut. Like it's hard, and then you're going in and out. And so yeah, you hear that a lot, and so it led me to the Braves, and rehab was great in my 2015, just because I was on a big league roster. My wife, was with me, and we were hanging out all the time. We lived on a golf course, so it was tough, but in a sense of like rehab, like it was hard going in and out. Like some days it felt like, man, this is great. I could pitch today, and then some days it felt like, oh no, I just tore it again. Like yeah, I had to have it. It hurt so bad. And so like going through that, but it was a mixed bag. Let's say that. And then, going into when I broke my elbow, that was a totally different story. But yeah, the first one was a little easier than the second.
Yeah.
And that's a very unique and awesome perspective to have on this situation because I hear a lot of stories about players going through something like that, like a Tommy John story, with them having like a very negative perspective and seeing the downside of it. So it's very awesome to hear that you stayed positive through the whole process. And like you said, it did really turn out it turned out great for you because you got your opportunity with the Atlanta Braves and we saw what you're able to do through the years. So very awesome to hear that different, unique, and positive perspective through such a tough situation like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was in the moment, I just staying present, and I wish, later in my career got harder to do that. But
Right.
yeah, early in my career with those kind of things, I was in a good spot for sure.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Now, I wanted to bring up the point with well, outside after Tommy John and pro ball when it comes to that. You made your debut in 2015, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So you're around, I was looking at the stats and around your full season of 2016, 2017. I know you were in the bullpen with guys like Shane Green, AJ Minner. I know you've had a lot of
Mhm.
probably memorable moments with those guys, but I
Yeah.
guess I love asking these questions. And did you have any like pre-game routines or superstitions or rituals or stuff you did with those guys when you were in Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, we had every reliever has a pregame routine. Like you have
Sure.
to, you play 162 games mentally to stay in it. Like you got to do the same thing all the time. No superstitions really, and you know, when you're down in the bullpen, it's keeping things light. Like it's a serious game. You know, we used to play trivia. I used to do the trivia. We would have you know, conversations all the time. One of the hotter topics, honestly, was we had a dessert off, I guess you could say, cheesecake or creme brulee.
Nice.
And
Oh, that
you
sounds
know,
good.
one
Cheesecake
side
all the way.
brought yeah, see, I'm very against that. But you know, like you have those conversations. You know, like you talk football, you talk, you watch the game. Obviously, you stay engaged, but you make fun of each other. Like, but when that phone rings, it's business. And you know, when one of your guys are out there as well, like fighting their butts off, like you're engaged, and you know, I think that's what makes a good bullpen is pulling for each other. That 2018 bullpen, man, we weren't supposed to be good. Like we were picked, I think, fourth in the division,
Yep.
and you know, that whole team was just fun to be a part of. And you know, guys like Minner, I think that was maybe his second year, his rookie year or something. You know, me and him were closing at the end, and you got Luke Jackson,
Mm.
guy who got
Ooh.
DFA'd 5 times that year.
Yeah, that was
And
rough.
you know, yeah, but it was fun. You know, Jesse Biddle had a good year. Shane Carl, like
Right.
all these guys, we pulled together. And you know, I was lucky enough to be with some really good bullpens. You know, 2021 with the Cubs, with Kimbrel and Rex Brothers and Andrew Chafin. Like all those guys were amazing to be around. But you know, like as a lot of it is just camaraderie. Like you're like brothers. Like you literally spend hours and hours and hours with each other. So yeah, nothing specific that I can think of, but yeah, that is very much a brotherhood.
I was gonna say it's a great story, especially this underdog thing. When you've seen, especially with the Atlanta Braves in 2021, you know, you go
Oh
88 and
Lord.
74,
Come
end up
on.
winning the World Series.
That's right.
20,
That's right.
20,
Don't forget it.
yeah, 2018, you guys went 90 and 72 and ended up making the National League Division Series as well. So it's definitely good to
Yeah.
hear that. But Steven, if you want to ask your next question, go ahead.
Man, sorry, y'all are bringing up all these fond memories of all this. Like, because 2018, like you said, you were talking about it with in 2015, 2016, the Braves just weren't that good. I mean, we went through some fun moments. I mean, we got to see the development of Freddie Freeman. We got to see fun guys like AJ Przinsky and Juan Uribe come to the team, and you know, we had some fun moments there. But in 2018, it felt like as soon as Acuna got brought up, and like
Yep.
Ozzy in 2017 too, it just felt like there was a shift with the culture and a shift with this team. And
Mhm.
being a part of that was I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
And
awesome.
it's yeah, yeah. And I wanted to finish off with this one because I mean, look, none of us will ever get the experience of being, you know, called up to Major League Baseball. None of us will get that experience of facing incredible hitters, like the best hitters on the planet. So I just wanted to ask you, like throughout your entire career, do you have a moment or do you have like an experience that was like just like better than any other thing you experienced in baseball?
Mm. And a lot, honestly. I think about that often. You know, I think my career ended earlier than I thought it would have. I thought I would have played till I was, you know, at least 38. You know, things didn't work out that way. So, you know, I'm kind of reflecting a lot. You know, some fond ones for me are, you know, the 2018, my first save, first career save against the Cardinals. You know, coming in with the bases loaded. I think it was a 4-run game, and I think I got a ground ball, and then I struck out the last guy. And you know, that's very good memory. Every opening day. I mean, like
Yeah.
2016 opening day, like We have the last day in Turner, last opening day in Turner.
Yeah.
And 52,000 people, I think, were there. And I got a pitch in the seventh inning and struck out the side. I mean, that was one of the best ones. My debut, obviously, like we were playing the Mets. The Mets went to the World Series that year. Another one I can think of is I had a lot with the Cubs just because I loved my time with Atlanta. But I mean, the Chicago Cubs are just different. Like it's a different feel.
Mhm.
Uh, Even COVID with them, we went to the playoffs and like there was a buzz in COVID on the playoffs. Like we had people at the hotel staff and like being excited for us and like talking about it. And then, 21, I can think of, we were in first for a long time, into July. And we were into the extra innings and I got a double play against the Mets with the bases loaded. And that Wrigley Field, it was like I think the first week that we had a full capacity, and the place just erupted. And it was just like those are things that I'll never forget. And those are things that they're not lost on me. I am very thankful that I got to experience them. I do miss it very much so. Like there's nothing in life that can ever replace that. And I'm coming to terms with it, but like kind of reminiscing on those has really helped. So yeah, I appreciate that question. It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we love it down here in Atlanta, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we can compete with Wrigley Field. I mean, it's Wrigley Field at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm sure, that's, something that only comes, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity playing the majors for sure. But when you get to step out on such a historic ground like Wrigley Field with such a rowdy fan base, I'm sure, I mean, the atmosphere probably compares to no other, in baseball. So yeah, very cool that you have the opportunity you of course play for my favorite team and then the Cubs in Wrigley Field at the same time. And Jackson, he's a Cardinals fan, so he doesn't feel
Yeah.
the same way about Chicago as we do. He
I
has a little more
know.
Hey,
hatred
look,
towards the Cubs.
Hey, I grew up 90 miles from St. Louis. I grew up a diehard Cardinal fan.
Where
Wow.
where are you from exactly?
It's called Effingham, Illinois.
Effingham. Not I do know I do know I lived around there in near I don't know if you know where like Alton, Jerseyville is around
Of
there.
course I do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I lived around there from like kindergarten to fifth grade, and that's why I'm a big Cardinals fan. But yeah, historic Wrigley Field, great, you know.
Yeah.
it's a great,
I get it. I get it. I get it. Like I said, I was a diehard Cardinal fan. Like
Mhm.
above this jersey is a Yadi Molina jersey.
Nice.
Um,
Wow. I
and
can respect that.
I can.
like he was Pools, Ozzie Smith, like Ray
Mhm.
Langford, those guys, Mark McGuire, like those guys are why I love baseball. But once you get into baseball, you don't look at those organizations the same. And then when I got to the Cubs, honestly, I was like, man, screw those guys.
Yeah. You have
Oh,
to.
that
You have
hurts.
to. That's the mindset that we have to
Yeah,
have.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
know. I know.
Because I mean, I'm sure when you were Braves fans, it was all about screw the Mets and screw the Phillies. Like
Oh yeah,
it's you have to have that mindset when you're on a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Oh man. Hey, look, well, you got anything?
oh no, you go, Steve. I'm sorry.
All right. So, hey, Dan, we appreciate you so much for coming
Oh yeah.
on and doing an interview with us. I mean, just getting the insight of somebody that, I mean, we all grew up watching you in
Yep.
the bullpen, along with guys like you said,
Yep.
Jesse Biddle. And honestly, I feel like the Braves organization needs to just send you a 2021 ring because, I mean, you help with the shift in the culture just as much as anything else. I mean, because you were a
Right.
part of that time in that 2018, 2019 shift to where we finally saw us take a big step. I mean, we were part of some heartbreaking moments, but we were also part of some great moments too.
Yeah, that's when 2018 is when we
Um,
started our National League East run, which of course ended this past season, but it was a
Yeah.
great run while it lasted, and that 2018 year did spark it all. So I'd say it was a very milestone year for the Braves, especially us being Braves fan who, prior to 2018 didn't get to experience a lot of success. So that was a really good turning point. So really cool that you were able, to be part of, like Steven said, that big culture shift in Atlanta.
Yeah. It was awesome. My time in Atlanta was awesome. I saw we, like I said, we sucked in 15 and 16.
Yeah.
And then I will
No need to
say, like,
sugarcoat it.
yeah, I was with the Braves when the Cubs won the World Series, and I was with
Um,
the Cubs when the Braves won the World Series. So that kind of sucked. So I
Yeah.
needed them flip flopped. I gotta have two
well,
rings
yeah.
now.
Right. But you were that like the Braves culture shift, and of course the Cubs, they always have that culture, that winning culture in
I mean,
Chicago.
goodness
So
gracious.
you
Like,
did you were able to experience, a handful of like iconic moments for both franchises. So definitely like, yeah, great moments for you absolutely throughout your career, and two great franchises that you could have possibly been a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. I'm very blessed for sure.
Well,
yeah,
yes, God,
yeah,
Stephen,
we
sorry.
were fanboying over here just because I mean, goodness, um, it's being a part of those two great organizations, like you said. I mean, it's just incredible, and getting the pleasure of talking to you, being a part of both great franchises. We just appreciate you for taking the time and doing this interview with us. We really do.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice
All
to
right,
meet
no
you, man.
problem. Thank you so much.